Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Carrying on with Kitab al-Hayd, just a quick recap with what we took. We said there's three types of blood that a woman experiences. The first is Hayd, which is to do with periods or period blood. The second is Istihada, which is anything that's not period blood and not the blood after childbirth. And the third is An-Nifas. Nifas is what comes out after childbirth in terms of blood. And we started off with Hayd. And we said in the Hanafi madhab, the least amount of days that a woman can be on her period for is 3 days. That's aqallul Hayd. And the most amount, according to them, is 10 days. Okay. And then they also say that when a woman has an established aada, established habit, where she knows, for example, my period comes in the first 10 days of the month. Here, if she doesn't see blood, however, it's any yellow liquid or brown liquid that comes up, what they call a sufra wal kudra, and this will be counted as hayd. So whatever comes out in the period of hayd, in terms of sufra and kudra, will be regarded as hayd. Thereafter, last mas'ala we stopped at, we said, when a woman is on her periods, there's a few things she's not allowed to do. The first that we took, we said that she's not allowed to perform salah. It's haram for her to read salah. And the second is, it's haram for her to fast or sawm. And here, salah, whatever she misses, she doesn't have to make qada or catch up. As for sawm, fasting, whatever compulsory fast she missed, and she catches up when she's clean. And inshallah, we'll be carrying on today. There's a few other things that she's also not allowed to do that they mention in the Hanafi books. Say that she's not allowed, now, just before I get to that, notice how these are two pillars of Islam. So they mention them, ibadat, acts of worship. And then after that, they say other things she's not allowed to do. So we'll just put this as number 3. She's not allowed to enter the masjid. Okay, dukhulul masjid. Number 4, she's not allowed to make tawaf. Here, this is dukhulul masjid. So a woman on her periods, according to them, is not allowed to enter the masjid. Number 4, a woman on her periods is not allowed to make tawaf, regardless of which tawaf it is. Whether it's tawaf of Umrah, tawaf of Hajj, Nafil tawaf, etc. Then, number 5, between her and her husband, they're not allowed to have intercourse. And they mention that he shouldn't go below what they call the izar. So, it's mentioned in some hadith that some of the wives of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam during the period they used to wear a certain garment, and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam would be intimate with them. However, that wouldn't lead to intercourse. So they say that between the thighs, a person shouldn't go close, meaning the husband, so that they don't fall into haram. Because as you know, intercourse during hayd is haram, is not allowed. Number 6, according to them, it's not allowed for a woman to recite the Quran on her periods. And this also includes, they make mention, it also includes a person on janabah, so a man who is in a state of major impurity, and also, according to them, includes anybody who's on major impurity. So they're not allowed to recite the Quran. Number 8, is a woman on her periods is not allowed to touch the Quran. Mas al-Mushaf, they say, except with a ha'il, so some sort of barrier. So it may be gloves, or for example, if this Mus'haf or Quran is in a cover or a bag and they need to move it. So they say she's not allowed to touch the Quran directly while she's on her periods, except with some sort of ha'il or some sort of barrier. Then a few mas'alas they mention, which are also with regards to this, not necessarily periods, but they say that also in the Hanafi madhab, to touch the Quran for a person who is in major impurity, whether it's hayd or janaba, nifas, is not allowed. And for a person who's also in minor impurity, so let's say a person doesn't have wudu, they broke their wudu. Hanafi madhab, as well as the majority opinion, is the person is not allowed to touch the Quran except with some sort of barrier. Then they make mention of a mas'ala which is in the Hanafi madhab. Here you have got to pay attention. They say that if a woman was on her periods, okay, and we know that she has an ada or habit that's established, it's over 3 days, okay, if, and they, as you know, according to them, it's up to 10 days. So that's a new masala. If a woman is on her periods, and we know that she finishes on day 10, for example, according to them, it can never go into day 11. So they say that if 10 days have passed, and even if she doesn't make a ghusl, she's still allowed to have intercourse with her husband. So 10 days have passed, even if she hasn't made a ghusl. Why? Because the period of hayd has finished. She's allowed to have intercourse with her husband according to the Hanafi madhab. And they also mention that, let's say a woman has what they call an ada. Ada means a habit. For example, let's say this woman, we know that she always bleeds for 7 days. Let's say on this particular instance, in this particular instance, her blood stops on day 5. So this is different to that. If her blood stops on day 5, even if she cleanses herself, meaning she has ghusl, she's still not allowed to have intercourse with her husband, because her ada, her established habit, is 7 days, and it's feared that even though the blood stopped on day 5, it may come back again on day 6 or day 7. So she must sit what they call her ada, her habit. And this word you constantly carry on hearing it, ada, where they speak about the established habit that a woman has. Then they also mention that if a woman's period, let's say, is less than 10 days. So for example, again, let's go third masala, let's go 6 days. It's specific to the Hanafi madhab. If she's finished her 6 days, okay, she's finished her 6 days, she can only have intercourse with her husband if she had a ghusl. Or they say if she witnessed a full time of salah, and even if she didn't make ghusl, they'll say she's clean hukman. And according to them, they say they're allowed to have intercourse. Again, 3 masail. I'll repeat them for you again. The Hanafi madhab, they said a woman bleeds between 3 and 10 days. Okay, let's start with anything more than 10 days according to them is istihada. So they say here, after 10 days, even if a woman doesn't take ghusl, we'll consider her to be clean because the time period of haid has passed and she can have intercourse with her husband. Number two is, let's say her period is less than 10 days. So let's say she has an established habit of 6 days. Now notice how 6 is less than 10. So if her 6 days are finished, okay, and we know that this is her habit, if she makes a ghusl, she can have intercourse with her husband. Or if the 6 days have passed and a time of salah enters and exits, we'll consider her to be clean hukman and she can still have intercourse with her husband. And number three, they say, let's say, for example, her ada is 6 days. However, on this particular occasion, the blood stopped before her established habit finished. So let's say it stopped on day 3. Here, even if she cleanses herself, meaning she has a ghusl, she's not allowed to have intercourse with her husband because her habit has been established at 6 days. Later on, they'll tell you if the habit changes or not. I hope you understood these masail. You just have to go through them, write them down, and you'll understand. So we carried on mentioning the few things she's not allowed to do, either for herself or with her husband. And then we mentioned this particular rule in the Hanafi madhab, and obviously the safer opinion, whether the 10 days pass or if Aada is 6 days and passes, before she does anything, it's recommended for her to make ghusl. Any questions? Rahim.
Is it possible for the Ada to be more than 10 days?
Is it possible what?
For the habit to be more than 10 days, like
In the
11.
Hanafi madhab, a woman cannot bleed more than 10 days. Anything above 10 days will be considered istihada. So, for example, the 10 will be considered hayd and the 1 will be considered istihada if she bleeds 11 days. That's why they have this rule here. Say that 10 days are finished, there's no ways that can be hayd anymore. It's istihada. We'll consider her clean hukman.
I
Understood?
have another question.
Yeah.
So, how long is the time frame for something to be considered a habit?
They'll make mention to you that because they'll start you off with what's considered what they call mubtada'a, a woman who's starting off on her periods. And then you've got somebody who's got an established period, and then you've got somebody who doesn't have an established period. So there's women who sometimes in the month the period comes between day 1 and day 5, sometimes between day 3 and day 7, some days. So every month carries on changing. So they'll mention that to you. For now, they establish the usul and the principles in Kitab al-Hayd, and then they mention to you exceptions to the rule. Any other question? Again, as I told you, this Kitab al-Hayd, these are masail. There's no shyness in the deen as long as a person maintains the haya. Meaning when asking, you ask in a respectful manner. And these are masail. If you don't learn them now, you don't ask about them now, you probably never learn them in your life. You can't ask verbally, type. If you can't type, ask somebody else, and inshallah, they will respond to you. Any more questions? No more questions. Ibrahim? Ibrahim.
No.
If a person doesn't have wudu, can they open the Quran app on their phone, touch the pages too, and flick?
Yes, because there's a barrier with
What's the barrier?
the glass.
Ask you a second question. If a person has a Quran app on their phone, are they allowed to take their phone to the toilet?
Yes, because it's like
On condition
it is a condition that you don't open it.
that it's not open. So it's as good as being closed. Third question. Let's say you've got a book in tafsir. So some Qur'ans you find the Quran with tafsir written on the side. Person who's a woman on hayd, is she allowed to touch that book or not?
Mhm. I'd say yeah, but as long as she doesn't touch the words of the Quran.
The Quran. Okay. That's your question. Another one. If you've got a woman who's a Quran teacher, let's say her periods are, let's say you, Ibrahim, you've got a madrasa and you employ different people to teach Quran. And every time there's one of the women you employ who's in the madrasa, she says, from the 1st of the month till the 10th of the month, I can't come. Why? Because I'm on my period, so I can't touch the Quran, I can't read the Quran. What do you do?
What do I do? I
Ah,
find a substitute.
what else is there? It's not else here. Okay, another question. It's the same concept. A woman who is doing hifth, okay, memorizing the Quran. Every time she's memorizing, as you know, if you want to memorize and you want your hifth to be strong, you have to carry on reading every day. She she wants to skip 10 days of madrasa all the time, every month. And you're teaching a small girl, young girl. And after she skips these 10 days of madrasa, when she comes back, she doesn't know her Quran. What do you do? Carry on letting her skip 10 days? Or
Well, I'd say she goes there because at least she's listening, and then
you'd
from
say what?
listening, because if she's still it'll still come, but or when she goes home, instead of reciting, she listens. So it's still repeating in her, but she's not reciting it.
Okay, I'll give
But
you opinion outside the Hanafi madhab. Some
okay.
people are very strict when it comes to this. However, if there's a woman who's teaching Quran, she's got students, etc., even if she's on her periods, there is an opinion that allows her to do what's necessary in terms of teaching who she needs to teach. And as long as she doesn't touch the Quran, so she has her glove or pencil or pen or whatever it is. Because if you think about it this way, think about it from another perspective. A woman employed by Hifth Institute, and they tell her that you're missing 10 days of every month or 5 days of every month, and we can't keep you as a teacher. Do we tell her, okay, leave your job? What if she doesn't find another job, etc.? Some people will still argue this point. However, there are other madhahib that allow her to teach and to touch with what they call a ha'il, some sort of barrier. Also, when it comes to a woman memorizing the Quran, they also allow that. And these are, this is outside the madhab. Yes, the Hanafi madhab, they don't allow you to recite the Quran either. Other madhab, they allow you to recite the Quran. Touching, you touch with a ha'il. Then she's allowed to touch the Mus'haf too if she's a student of knowledge in the Maliki school, but they'll say she must touch with a ha'il. Or some of them will say that she mustn't touch where the Quran is written, so the cover of the Mus'haf, etc. Does she have to break the ayah into a few parts while reciting if she's a Quran teacher? If you're going with the opinion that allows you to do that, then no. If an elderly female experiences short and 2 or more monthly periods, we'll get to that because this comes down to a difference of opinion. How much is أقل الحيض and أكثر الحيض, and how much is أقل الطهر and أكثر الطهر? So if you say, for example, and before I get to that, there's some who say that whenever she sees blood is considered hayd, and whenever she's clean, it's clean. However, we'll get to that, inshallah. This is still going to come. These are all exceptions to the rule. So generally, as you've been through all these chapters in fiqh, they first give you the asl, the principle, the rule. Then they give you some exceptions to the rule. And again, it will be according to the madhab or opinion or sheikh you follow. Or at times, you may see an opinion to be more correct and follow it. Anything else? Okay, inshallah, we'll carry on with our nahu. We had taken in the previous lesson, we said that i'rab is the changing on the last letter. Okay, either the haraka, something's being added. What is it? Is it mansoob, majroor, marfu, etc.? And we started off with marfu. Okay, and we said marfu. What shows us something is marfu? Firstly, if there's a dhamma will come in 4 categories. First is ism mufrad. Second is jam' taksir. Third is jam' muannath salim. Fourth is fi'l mudari'. Nothing extra is connected to it. Number 2, they say that at times dhamma may not come, however there may be a waw. Okay, and waw will come in 2 instances. We took the first. The first is jam' mudhakkar salim, plural, which is masculine, and it's salim. So for example, muslimun, the word muslimun, singular, to make it plural, you just add a waw and a noon. That's how you make jam' mudhakkar salim. You just add a waw and a noon. Mu'minun, mu'minuna, qanitun, qanituna, etc. And the second is where they call what they call asma'ul khamsa. Asma meaning nouns or names, and khamsa meaning 5. So to give you a background on this, they say there's 5 nouns in the Arabic language. If they are mudaf, mudaf meaning mudaf ilayh, they're belonging to somebody, they show some sort of possession, and they in their original form. Here, the i'rab will be slightly different than normal nouns. So let's take them first. First one is, look, the word abun is marfu' with dhamma, but it's not mudaf ilayh. Abun means a father. It doesn't show possession. But the moment you want to say your father, you say abuka. Okay? Abuka. This is what we're talking about this. أخ means a brother. مرفوع الضمة. However, لما اسم مضاف مضاف إليه, say أخوك. حم. I'm saying it means the relative of the wife. Husband, sorry. Say حموك. Then famun means mouth. Then you've got ذو, which has a meaning of possession. So you say, for example, ذو مال means one who possesses wealth. Okay? Yes. Now, what do you notice here? You notice that when they're singular, there's no possession. You find that it's got a wow here, got a wow here, got a wow here, wow here, wow here, here. So if you have abuka, abuka is marfu'. What shows us it's marfu'? The fact that it has a wow. And if they ask you, why is it marfu' with wow, even if it's a noun, you say no. It's from asma'ul khamsa. It's from the 5 nouns that have a special rule, basically. Akhuka. Akhuka is marfu'. What shows us it's marfu'? The fact that it has a wow. Why does it have a wow? Because it's from asma'ul khamsa. 5 which nouns which have a special rule to them. Hamuka. And here is not famuka, it's fuka. Fuka. Fam means mouth. You don't say your mouth, you don't say famuka, you say fuka. Okay? It's marfu. What shows is marfu? The fact that it has a wow. ذو مال is an example. So you can say ذو جاه. ذو just means بمعنى صاحب, somebody who possesses something. ذو is مرفوع علامة رفعه الواو. Why? Because it's from أسماء الخمسة. The same if you had to have, for example, أبوك وأبوك وأبوه وأبونا is مرفوع with واو. أخونا مرفوع with واو. حمونا مرفوع with واو. فوك وفوكي is also مرفوع with واو. ذو will be مرفوع with واو. That's the second one. So you took dhamma and now you took wow. And inshallah, tomorrow you'll take a third type of marfu and then the fourth. Any questions? These you just have to learn them. Abun, akhun, hamun, famun, dhu. Ibrahim.
No, the marfu' doesn't end with the dhamma because the self takes over, basically.
Where?
Like I don't mean like that stuff. I mean like the thing we did last week with the
With the
pronouns.
that's sarf. That's how to build the word. So ضرب يضرب.
So that's stronger than the marfu in this instance.
No. So that I was just explaining to you, how do you go from past tense to future tense? That's all. It had nothing to do with i'rab. But one of the things they told you is فعل مضارع. So you learned how to make فعل مضارع that doesn't have anything extra connected to it if it's marfu. So remember, what you're learning right now is any noun or any verb, it can take i'rab. In fact, let me correct you there. Let me give you more detail. Look, there's a big category like this. There's some words in the Arabic language that take i'rab, and there's some that just don't take i'rab. They just never change. Like fi, it never becomes fiyu and fiya and fi. So right now we're not yet there. And generally the harf belongs here, okay? As for the words that can take i'rab, it's mainly ism, your noun, and it's fi'l mudari' only. So fi'l mudari' is a verb that shows present or future tense. Why didn't they say fi'l madi, past tense? Because daraba will be daraba forever. It will never become darabu and darabi. Never. So that's what they call mabni from bina. Bina is like a building. It's built like that. It doesn't change. Now, so when I was explaining that to you, because they told you fi'l mudari changes, I wanted you to get to fi'l mudari. What is fi'l mudari? Then from there, they told you, for example, yadribu and tadribu. It's two types of fi'l mudari. Those which are in the original form, meaning it's the basic 4 letters. Okay? That's got nothing extra attached to it. That will be marfu with dhamma. Yadribu, adribu, tadribu. Then there's those which have a little bit extra. So they have, example, extra waw and a noon. Yadribuna. Here, this is going to be marfu, however, not with dhamma. You'll take that. That's all it was. Nothing else. Understood? Understood? You need to go through it. You need to make notes. You need to ask questions. You need to practice with words. And then you'll know it, inshallah.